Assalamu alaikum. This is our second lecture on second online lecture, and in the first lecture, we have completed the first part of China's geostrategic problems, and here we are gonna cover the second part of the topic. So we have concluded our first lecture on the water coming from Tibet to the main eastern land of China, agricultural land of China, and that water comes through two major rivers. One of the river is called Yellow River, and the second one is Yangtze River. So China cannot ignore the importance of Tibet. We would take the example of Kashmir in between India and Pakistan. Uh, Almost 80% of the water of Pakistan comes from through Kashmir, 70 to 80% of the water. So right now Kashmir is occupied by the Indians, and they are developing huge dams over there. And why? The main purpose is to divert that water towards their own mainland, and to hold Pakistan shares of water. So in the same way, if the already constructed and ongoing constructing dams are developed in Kashmir, Pakistan would left be with no water. Pakistan won't be having any enough water for its agriculture land, and Pakistan's food security um, would get worse. So in the same way, China doesn't want Tibet to slip in the hand of Indians, and India may use the same design with the Chinese as they have used with the Pakistanis in Kashmir. On the north, there comes Mongolia in between Russia and China, and it's a huge country, a friendly one, and it is composed of big deserts, and any of the trained and well equipped army would take long time to cross all the terrain of Mongolia, and then to enter into China. And during all this time, China would have enough time to get alert and prepare their defense. Well, this was about Mongolia, and now it comes to the eastern border of China. By seeing the ocean at its east, it feels like that it would be the safest, as America is having its eastern and western border safe. But no, it's not like that. There are a lot of disputes in at its eastern border, and one of the main challenge for China is the presence of USA in its eastern border or in Pacific. America is having good terms with the countries in the Pacific, like USA has its base with troops of almost 48 to 49,000, and other than this, in South Korea they have stationed their forces, and won. Other than these three countries, USA has very good terms with Taiwan, Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia. And there is another US base in the north of Australia, in Darwin. So US has maintained its presence in Pacific only because to deter the expansion of China. Why? Because China's existing trade route passes through South China Sea, then Strait of Malacca, to reach the market of Arab, African countries, Europe, and even some of the Indian Ocean countries. So, in case if there is an issue in between USA and China, US would have an edge over China, that it would block the trade route or supply line of China to these regions that I have just discussed. This is why, in countering all this US presence in this region, China has heavily invested in its eastern border, like in Pacific Ocean. They have made their own artificial islands. They are claiming 80% of the South China Sea, and why China is maintaining its presence only for a quick response if any conflict starts in the region. Though there are a lot of countries that have sided with USA, but some of the countries are there which do not have good relations with USA, like for example Philippines. And even Philippines is bordering is border with South China Sea. So if Philippines comes in the sphere of China, obviously Chinese position would strengthen in Asia Pacific. So other than Philippines, China can have more allies in the region. China's economy is based on exports, and one more thing, like and the food supply, because China is having a population of 1.4 billion people or 1.5 billion people. So to fulfill their food needs, food is being imported through ships with this route. And if there is a naval blockade in this Asia Pacific region, China won't be able to keep their people happy, and its population is gonna get up and rise against the government. And one more important thing that should be mentioned over here, that China hasn't maintained colonies previously, and that's why they don't have a strong navy. But if we see USA is having huge border of water. Britain, France, they have USA is having, because they have huge border of water, and other than that, Britain, France used to have colonies. That's why they have strong navy. So China doesn't have strong navy because they weren't having colonies, but they actually invest so heavily in the countries that some of the experts, social scientists, have claimed that China has used this trick of debt trap, and this is how they are actually controlling different third world countries, and this is how they have entered in Africa, and they have invested in different areas. Though China has become almost the second economy, and they are growing very fastly, but there are a lot of challenges over here and vulnerabilities. If China is able to tackle all these issues technically, then they will rise more and more. But if something happen at any of the point, then they can have a conflict that can stop their growth as it is right now. So this was all about the second lecture, and I'll share it too in the WhatsApp group, and by that time I would be online, and if you would be having any queries, you can ask me. Thank you so much. Stay blessed, and Allah Hafiz.